I'm Dbanj or Skiban like what you press call me. Philip Capella with Liberty Labata. You're watching Up Front Africa. We're up front like that. Boom, 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 boom.
Uncle Master, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you, having time to talk to us. Tell me, how has the industry evolved over the last 5 years in your view?
I'll say 10 years ago, like I always tell people that when I wanted to start, the summary of it is 10 years ago, if you went to your parents and said, I want to go into music, you would be finished.
Mm.
They would think that maybe you're jobless or it's a hobby or something. Most parents wanted their kids to be engineers, doctors, accountants. But 10 years after, I'm from Nigeria, so I'll predominantly speak about, my country. The music industry from our country has not only become one of the biggest exports from our nation, but it has put us on the global map.
Right.
That now we have people that have schooled in the best schools such as Harvard and Oxford coming back home to come and say, you know what, I want to work
in the
in
entertainment
industry. I want to work as a manager,
right.
I want to work even as an artist.
Right.
And also, more importantly, job creation for us. Taking the mind of idle youths that believe that, you cannot make it unless you fly to America in music. You cannot make it unless you fly to America in entertainment. I think what God has done for us in Africa in the last 5 years especially is the export of that you sit down at home and you do your music with your Swahili language or with your Yoruba or
right.
Igbo, and then you release it in that same, and then it will come straight and it will be played on Voice of America.
Right.
Like you said you've been playing this since 2005.
Yes, sir.
And when
yes,
people
sir.
jumped up on it, you say, I've been doing this since.
Yeah.
But you see, it in that old 9-10 years, it's now become that you have Nigerian acts, African acts winning BET.
Right.
You have them winning MTV Europe Awards. You have them winning MTV Africa Awards. You have also
last 5 years, you built yourself into this global brand, a music brand. How were you able to monetize music? How were you able to do it?
For me, I would say that there's a popular saying that knowledge is power. Information is very key. And what I will give credit to my generation for is that we're well informed. And in studying the Western world, knowing how, the Universals, the Sony Records, the Jay-Z's, how they monetize themselves, because we cannot see our industry like the rap industry. If you look at the rap industry in a global, music industry, it took a while as well for them before they became mainstream.
Right.
And so we had to see how they did it and how we did it. And so each artist back home then, from your own record label, from your own record label, get proper management, and then watch how it's done. And if you have those kind of things in place, then you follow through. And gradually opportunities and different revenue streams started opening up, just like, ringtones.
Right.
Now we have ringtones back in Africa. When we started 10 years ago, GSM, the phone itself was just new.
Yeah.
It was maybe 2 years or 1
So
year.
you have endorsements now
Now
too?
we have endorsements, Now they've seen it beyond artists as just calling them to come and perform for your wedding. They've seen it as, listen, you need them to push your product. They've seen that we have the voices thanks to social media, so we control. You send a tweet, everybody's rushing it. So you see, different acts, you don't necessarily have to go and perform before you're making tons and tons of revenue from what you have built. Like now, I have so many endorsement deals, so I do not most of the time have to perform
to be able to
make money. Now, even if you look at the revenues that you make off a very good record in Africa alone as well, from publishing or from royalties, as people would think before, they would think that it's not true, and then they'll see how much. And I keep telling people that I see myself as that perfect example. I'm from Nigeria. I would tell you 75% of the revenue I've made is from our country and our continent. So I will wear the same Rolex that Jay-Z would wear.
Yes, sir.
And it's from Nigeria I got the money. I will drive the same Bentley or Aston Martin, and you see that it's the same. It's from that continent that you all think. So you don't need to fly out. Although there's plus when you fly out and your music is that big, but now we've been able to see that music is bankable, and the world has agreed with us, and then different structures have been put in place. And I believe that in the next 5 years, it's going to kick up because Nigeria has become the biggest economy now in Africa.
In Africa, right.
And it's because of music.
Right. It's because of music.
It's because of music.
Interesting.
Like the Minister of Finance said to me, our minister, I call her my mama let, Ngozi, she said that music industry was not put on the map before, and that's why it was never valued. And just up until recently, when they said, these people, they're doing something, so they brought it up, and they saw how much revenue we've been making it, and then by the time they added it, Nigeria surpassed
South Africa
entertainment industry. Because South Africa used to be very
very influential.
Very
yeah,
influential when
the
we started.
TKZs,
But I will tell you now that Nigeria is not taking over. I think what we're doing is we are solidifying that unity. Because if you see, for me, most of my biggest fan base in Africa, I would say, is from the eastern side of Africa. And you see that last year, the African Cup of Nations. Now you can see with so many, not only that we African or we Nigerian acts are now expanding. You see the Davidos doing songs with Matthew Kozolo, you see the J Martins doing songs with, DJ. So it's become one whole movement. And unfortunately, whenever I travel abroad, most people here and everywhere, they think Africa is one country.
Of course.
so we keep trying to tell them that
is not one
this is a continent.
Tell
Africa
them.
is 53, countries, and although the music is the only thing that we're trying to make us, unified right now, and I believe that music is very spiritual and very universal. So if that's the way that they can see us as one,
let's talk about the global phenomenon that Oliver Twist became. Did that song catch you off guard? The power of Oliver Twist catch you off guard? Were you surprised with how big it became?
Yes, I don't know if you're a Christian or a Muslim, but if I'm a Christian, and if you see in the Bible, it says that when God decides to bless you, you be like men that dream dreams. It's only in the dream you can dream that kind of thing. The top chart in 11 countries in Europe, top 10 in 11 countries in Europe. I've not even been to some of the countries still up till now.
They've never seen you physically?
No.
You've never toured?
I was #1 in Romania. I've never been there. I've never toured. Yeah, you're right. Last year I was supposed to be at the Trinidad and Tobago Festival, but I was so engrossed in what I was doing for Africa and working. So for me, it's still like that dream. So I have to pinch myself. Although the last 3 years it's been more like that because I was in Dubai.
You've been on a roller coaster.
God has just been so faithful.
And then God music.
Kanye.
You Kanye West.
Yes, so I met Kanye in Dubai, and then most people thought that it was because of the Kanye track that Oliver Twist. But no. The Oliver Twist track was in Nigeria. Got on the boat itself, went to London. We all just saw it, and even Kanye too was surprised. And he knew of the music of African music, and he's been looking for. That's why I kind of forever respect Kanye because he's a genius.
Right.
He said to me when he saw me at the airport,
agree with you.
He said, African music, the sound, I've been looking for something different. I've sent people to school to go and check. And so when I listened to some of my music there, I remember him saying, oh, you gotta come to the States. And he says, you know what I did for John Legend, you know what I did for Estelle in the UK, I wanna do the same for you. And me as if not that I don't have visa, I'm following you now, where are you going? You say France, I'm coming to meet you. And from us doing that, meeting him in 2010, 2011, I am now in America. We're still discussing how we're gonna do it. And 9 months after that, Oliver Twist becomes the first African song in the top 10 in the UK. You see now that bridge that I've always been waiting for was finally built with that success. Because not only is Oliver Twist now in top 10, you have the Fuse ODG, you have the P Squares, you have people going on that the music is now universal. And that's how it is. And my music is always as real as that, as my life or a neighbor's story or someone that I've heard of. So I believe that was the beginning of the global movement of African.
Tell me, why did you become involved with this song called Chocolate? Did you write the song?
Yes, I did.
To tell us about that song.
I was in South Africa in November, and I was approached by one.org, and they told me that they wanted they've been looking for African celebrities, African role models that can take on their own voices, that can fight for our own investment. It's one thing when the likes of Bono have, dedicated the rest of their lives saying, this continent must grow, however, how we can help eradicate, is it poverty, is it diseases, and then up until now reaching where we are taking our own future in our own hands. So that for me, first of all, struck me as a great move, but I didn't know what we were going to be doing. But the fact that I had that one, and I've heard of Bono, I know what they've done. Next year we'll make it 30 years since they did We Are the World, And so it was for Africa that did it, you know, so many things. So I said, oh, Bono, let's go now, Alpha. Let's go. What do you want me to do? Malaria, let's do mosquito nets. Let's give everybody mosquito net. You know, I just, and then they said, no, Agric. I said, Agric, agriculture.
Yeah.
Why?
Why agriculture?
You know, growing up, you don't want to be a farmer.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
They didn't teach us that. You know? If you are doing farming, that means you are suffering. That was how it was perceived.
Farming was for our ancestors.
Was for our old generation.
For the villagers.
We want to be rock stars.
Yes,
we want to
doctors.
be engineers, doctors, accountants. But for me, when they told me about this, and they said, listen, agriculture is the fastest way of eradicating poverty. One, getting job creation, and more importantly, putting food on our table, not just for us, but if we do it very well, we can export food to the rest of the world, as Africa still has most of the, you know, barren land now. So I said, that struck something in my head, and I said, okay, I want to do this. So they said, next year, 2014, this was November last year, and they said 2014, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, African Union, they want me to come. So I said, okay. So they carried me first. I remember going 3 hours drive to South Africa. Well, I said Ghana. We got to Ghana, then they took me on 3-hour drive into
the village.
My brother, into one cocoa plantation, and then they tell me that it's from these small-scale farmers that we generate most of the products that we eat. Not even all those big Nestle's and all those big companies, but at the small farmers that we eat. So I sat with one of them, and I asked him if you've seen the documentary, you will see where he took me through the process of getting to chocolate from cocoa, and how hard it is after you've gone through that hard process to even process it, to transport it, to keep it, which is storage.
Right.
So I got into the whole picture, and then I realized that if this is taken care of, we have 850 million people in Africa. All of us cannot be musicians.
Right.
All of us cannot be actors.
Absolutely.
All of us cannot go into oil and gas, but we can. You know, we can feed the rest of the world.
What do you want young people to get from this campaign, from Cocoa and Chocolate, when they listen to this song, in terms of understanding the need to get into agriculture?
Yeah, for me, I think the song has given us first step, which is the youths are aware that agriculture is the future, and that in order for us to eradicate poverty, we have to focus on agriculture as a job, not just as any kind of thing for our old fathers to do. Secondly, the song has given us 2.2 million African youths signing a petition that says that 10% of the annual budget of the African countries must be, you know, on agriculture.
Yes.
Now, what we need to take out of it is that has happened. In the recent AU summit, the leaders agreed to what we started. So they put that in it, that they will support agriculture with 10%. Some said even more than 10. Some said they will create different things. The next step is for our youth to be aware that these people have said they will do this. So we don't want them to let us follow through with it.
Light a fire on the...
Light a fire on that. We know this is what you want to do first. Secondly, for those that want to go into agriculture, there are different schemes, there are different programs that are now available that we, the young youths, the future generation, can benefit from soft loans, from lands, from mechanized equipment. I know that from Nigeria because I'm an ambassador of the new Nagropreneur, which is Nigeria Agricultural Entrepreneur. We just came out from what we are doing, you know, the Minister of Agriculture, and said, you know what, from what you are doing, it's a great thing, come and spearhead this. And this is to empower 750,000 youths in Nigeria. So this is a result of what we've started, and I can see us getting more involved with it. And the most important thing is that we as role models, now that the youths have seen that, wow, it's Dbanj that we all look at wearing all this gold, is going into agriculture, then I can go to I see my social media going up every day. I'm into poultry. How can I get this? I'm into fishery. How can I get it? So I see a great future for Africa.
Yes, the movement has started.
Yes, it has.
Dbanj,
just have to be aware.
thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you, man.
Radio in full effect.
Up front, let's go.